This is the Barbados Today evening news for Thursday, August 24th. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Claire Williams. We begin with news that a 23-year-old St. Michael man has been remanded to prison after appearing in court on several criminal charges. Dario Hollingsworth of number 42 Golden Rock Pinelands, St. Michael, went before Magistrate Elwood Watts in the Oistins Magistrates Court this morning. He was charged with aggravated burglary, robbery, burglary and assault with intent to rob. Police say the offences were committed between August 6 and 12 in Christchurch. Hollingsworth is accused of assaulting Donette Jones on August 6 with intent to rob her. He denied the offence, but Station Sergeant Rudolph Burnett said the accused had 14 prior convictions for similar offences and was not a good candidate for bail. He was remanded until September 21st. But before that, Hollingsworth is expected back before the magistrate to answer to 3 other criminal charges. In other news this evening, Barbados and Chile today renewed their commitment to strengthen relations. The assurance came during a courtesy call and working meeting between Prime Minister Frendel Stuart and Chile's President Michelle Bachelet earlier today. Bridgetown and Santiago formalized diplomatic ties in 1967, and in the past 50 years, Barbados has benefited from technical assistance and developmental programs in several areas, including adaptation to climate change and disaster management.
Since we began our cooperation programs, many Barbados citizens have actively participated in Spanish language training, good governance and transparency, agricultural practices, and disaster management and climate change adaptation projects. Furthermore, our cooperation program 2015-2018 has an increased focus and budget on the Caribbean, and we have new collaborative initiatives emphasizing the central themes of the Agenda 2030, such as disaster management, adaptation to climate change, and management of natural resources, among others.
Prime Minister Stuart hailed the existing air services agreement, which he said has laid a solid foundation to encourage trade in goods and tourism between the two countries, and he is looking forward to further strengthening ties between the two nations.
We discussed some challenges that our countries face and considered how we might work together on international tax matters, especially in light of Barbados' continued interest in concluding negotiations between our respective tax authorities for a double taxation agreement to implement the Paris Agreement on climate change, to preserve and protect our oceans and seas for future generations, to increase and enhance the trade with Chile in the area of goods in the first instance, to eventually widen to include trade in services.
Bachelet also visited the headquarters of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. The executive director, Ronald Jackson, said, like the Caribbean, Chile remains vulnerable to natural disasters, and he believes the region can learn several lessons from that country in the area of disaster management.
Whilst we have a tendency to look only at our experiences in the Caribbean, it was also interesting to hear about the challenges being faced in Chile based on the impacts of climate change, which we're all experiencing, the issues with forest fires, increased temperature, coastal flooding. But we well know the documented history of the seismic risk in Chile. We know of the largest earthquakes ever recorded. We remember the 2010 earthquake and the courage displayed by the people and government in Chile in staring down that particular incident, but also building back better and stronger from that. And it's certainly lessons we commend to our member states and to our government within the context of this cooperation.
One regional economist is warning that government will have little choice but to resort to further belt tightening in order to turn around the island's economy. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair announced a series of austerity measures in his May 30th budget presentation. They included an increase in the National Social Responsibility Levy from 2 to 10% as well as a 2% levy on foreign exchange transactions. The Frundle-Stewart administration is struggling to reduce its high debt and fiscal deficit, while at the same time boosting economic growth and foreign exchange reserves. Noted Caribbean economist Marla Dukaran told a public forum last night that further action must be taken to get the economy back on track, whether through a local program or an IMF-sponsored plan.
So I'm saying all of that to get everybody to understand that whilst I don't want to use the word austerity, just like I don't want to use the word devaluation, we have plenty dirty words that we don't like in economics, or people don't like. It's a fact. It's going to happen, regardless of which party is in power, regardless of whether it's the IMF or a homegrown program. That fiscal deficit, which is, to me, underpinning all the other problems, as I've outlined in the equation, the growth problem and the reserve problem, that fiscal deficit has to be fixed. The level of debt also has to be addressed. So those are going to be the fundamental, to me, the fundamental pillars of a recovery process and what you're going to have to do and the policy measures you're going to have to take to fix the problem in Barbados.
Dukaran was speaking under the theme Homegrown or IMF Designed. What should Barbados' economic recovery plan look like? The forum was hosted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Welcome to CARIFESTA 13. As an AmeriCaribbean affiliate, we at the Barbados Light and Power Company strive to live and work injury-free, and we encourage you to do the same. Being safe means protecting yourself against crime. So when possible, avoid lonely or poorly lit pathways, ATMs, or car parks. From all of us at the Barbados Light and Power Company Limited, have a safe, enjoyable, and incident-free CARIFESTA.
CARIFESTA 13 Barbados.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back now with news from the region, and we go to Jamaica, where there are fresh calls for a public passenger policy. It comes amid concerns by police and the Jamaica Association of Transport Owners and Operators over questionable practices on the island's roads. We get more from TVJ News.
I was wondering if it's a fake news, because that's what is popular nowadays.
The JATU president was hoping the video was not from Jamaica to spare the association the embarrassment that comes along with it. He says the police and the Transport Authority are not doing enough to enforce existing laws despite several consultations.
We do have consultation with the police officers, with the traffic department, with the Transport Authority, but nothing becomes. We talk and that's the end of it.
He laments that bad road practices have become the norm. In the meantime, Managing Director of the Transport Authority, Cecil Morgan, concedes that more needs to be done, but says support is needed.
Sometimes you feel a little overwhelmed. The kind of support you expect to get from other state agencies, you don't necessarily get them. And the truth be told is that we don't like what is happening in terms of certain things. Now, we have had regular meetings with the other agencies, and we are saying that more needs to be done.
It's why Mr. Barton is repeating his over 5-year call for the government to enact a national public passenger transportation policy.
And finally, the U.S. state of Texas is bracing for Hurricane Harvey. The powerful storm is expected to make landfall this weekend, and communities have begun evacuating, and energy firms have also shut refineries and offshore oil and gas platforms. The National Hurricane Center says Harvey is packing winds of up to 80 miles per hour. More in this Reuters report.
The storm barreling toward the Texas coast on Thursday, packing winds of up to 80 miles per hour. The U.S. National Hurricane Center saying the storm is expected to make landfall late Friday night or early Saturday morning. The storm putting coastal cities on notice. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu.
Right now, I want to reiterate to the public there is no need to panic, but there is need to be well prepared.
Back in Texas, 30 counties are already under a state of disaster, preparing for heavy rain, severe flooding, storm surge, and damaging winds.
And that takes us to the end of the news this evening. For more, you can visit our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Marie Claire Williams. Have a good evening.